Oh, I'm muted. Hi, Missy. Can you hear me? Missy, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Perfect.
Okay. Oh, good. The ear pods were dead, so I'm like, okay, we'll go without ear pods.
No, that's fine. So thank you for jumping on this call. It's kind of a mixed bag of what we get for participation. Sometimes we have a bunch of people on, sometimes we don't, but I figured either way, it'd be nice to give the committee some ideas for potentially projects, you know, that would help out with the grant.
Great. So is this an official committee designated by the town or?
So no one was like appointed by the town. It was established by the previous health director for the town. So it's something like meeting minutes aren't taken. It's something more of like a volunteer-based committee.
Okay.
So Megan Leary's on the call now, who you can see. So Megan's in my office. So Megan is the deputy health agent for the town. So.
Okay, great.
Hello.
I see Mary Ellen. Are you on the call?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
So do we want to start now or do you want to wait a couple minutes?
So
Or
why don't we wait a minute? I haven't heard of anyone saying that they weren't going to be on. So we normally have a few members that are, you know, frequent members that are present at most of the calls. So, but maybe we'll give it another minute and then we can just maybe go through a quick overview. I did print out the RDP and then I also have it on my screen. So I could also.
okay, perfect.
as well.
Perfect. Yeah.
But even if say no more members jump on, I think it's helpful for even myself and Megan to maybe just like go through it with you, talk about items that maybe that are more attainable versus others that might be more like 5-year plans. And then also to touch upon the mattress ban. And then again, the organic ban. So I thought it would align nicely. I was supposed to meet with the nutrition director last week, but she got sick unexpectedly. So we are going to reschedule it for next week. But just to talk about if she meets that threshold where is it now reduced? It was a ton or it's reduced to 1?
It was a ton and now it's reduced to half a ton.
Yeah. So just seeing if they meet that criteria, what she's looking to do with her waste. So good.
And then
perfect.
I know in my town, a lot of people this is a huge vacation week, a ghost town. So
Yeah.
that's
All right. So why don't we get started? Mary Ellen, can you hear okay? Oh,
Nancy.
Nancy's jumping on, so that's good.
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. Hi, Nancy. Okay, so yeah, so let's get started. So what's easier for you, if I put it up on the screen or do you have it in front of you?
You put it up on the screen because I was debating that. So I actually have, you know, my little paper copy so I can go through it. But if you actually have, that way you don't have to turn the steering wheel over to me.
No, that's easy. Okay, can you see the screen now?
Yes, we can now.
Perfect, okay.
So every year, this is, let me back up. So I've been here since March. So in the past, Mass CEP has had various programs. And this is the one that we're kind of focusing on now. It's called Recycling Dividends Program. And it's basically like a reward program for communities doing a great job doing recycling activities. And they are points assigned to each category. And then it is based on the population of your residents who use your municipal trash and recycling service. And what we can do. Some of the categories are really complicated and very, very few towns have those. Some are, things that communities have been working on for like a decade to get there, kind of thing. So there's some things that are just super easy, so it's just a huge range. So we'll go through it and then I'll point out some things that are really pretty easy that you don't need to have legislative action or any political, will to change it. And a lot of it's just really education. So
Thanks, Missy. That's great.
go through that. So the first question really just asks, how many households are in your municipality that use your trash? In some communities, a lot of apartments or condos are not allowed. So that is why we ask that question. And who actually does it serve? Some communities even serve businesses. So that's why we ask that. So we have a really good sense of who we're serving.
So Missy, just to touch upon that, so we only collect single family and 2 and 3 families. We do not collect condos in Walpole or units over 3.
Yeah, and there's some that do everything, and it's really kind of different. And then the bulky waste question. Every community has pretty much like a different trash and recycling program. Walpole has one that really allows the residents to really throw away quite a large amount and large yearly allotments for bulky waste items. Some communities really conserve it, that they're only allowed like 3 or 4 a year for bulky waste. So that's why we asked that question, because the bulky waste really adds to your trash tonnage. And it kind of, in some ways, if residents are limited.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Hi. So what I was gonna say, if some residents are limited by the amount that they have, not just dumping, behind the barn or whatever, but that they might seek other ways to get rid of it, like putting it on the curb with the word free on it, or donation. So that one. So your program have a no for that.
So right now we do 1 large item per week.
Yeah.
But there's no like additional fee for anything like that. That's incorporated in our collection contract.
Yeah. So it's one of those things, again, it's the fee system kind of, just kind of looking at it with that. So and the fee limit is really kind of small. It's like $5 an item. But so you don't get points for that. And that I think would be a little more difficult to do. It's going to would involve a lot of political and community outreach, and it would be tricky. It could also come down to changing the culture of the town a lot too. So it's,
and I think from like the town administrator's perspective, he doesn't want to charge for that type of a service. It's not to say that it won't maybe happen in the future, but I think the whole fact of like the pay as you throw, like all of those programs have just been not very I feel like well perceived by, and like you said, there's a lot that goes into it to make that change.
Yeah. So pay as you throw is particularly the one that really starts getting a little more complicated with people and their perceptions of it. The bulky waste fee, it's almost in some ways people kind of go, oh, well, it's bigger. Yeah, I can understand it might, need to be cost more. So that's why sometimes having like a nominal fee like $5 often kind of goes forward. But the pay as you throw, I can tell you, I've gone through that in my own community. It is a very long process. It requires a huge amount of education, but it is also the biggest way to reduce the trash tonnage.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. People are held accountable for what they put out. Sure.
Yeah. But it can become very divisive. It can be there, it's a lot of work. So that's one of those kind of like, if Walpole ever does decide to do that, we can have what we call technical assistance where
Recording in progress.
where you would contract with me, and this is free, and then we would work on a particular project. Like I said, if you wanted to, go through pay as you throw, or if you were going through a new trash and hauling contract, or even just education and outreach, or like I noticed composting is on your thing. If you wanted to start a new composting program, I could help you with that as well. So that's one of the options that we can do. So the Charm Center, this is one that is interesting. So Walpole does not have any recycling center or I think compost.
Sorry, so you just get a little echoing now.
I think Mary Ellen needs to mute.
Yeah, there's feedback.
I'm gonna just try it again. Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
So we have the compost site for just yard debris, and then we also have two 30-yard roll-off dumpsters for paper. So cardboard and paper gets disposed there. And we do have a bin in the health department for mercury containing items. So that's something we do have as well. But a routine, and like we do have our off-season collections for television monitors and for lesson bulbs, but it's not something that I guess is like a regular collection.
So it's something that if, to be honest, that seems to be how a lot of communities have started with their charm or their transfer stations. They start off with very small things that they're required to do, or something that's very bulky, or something that actually would help them, with funding with the recycling. So that's kind of how some of them start, and some of them are, pretty easy that another community would, another business or an organization would take care of it. So an example would be textiles. So I noticed that your schools has Bay State bins on the schools. You could also have, a bin, in the same area where you have the, cardboard dumpster or the U-waste dumpster as well. And again, it's just something very simple, someone else would come in.
Mary Ellen, can you mute your computer possibly? It might be getting feedback from your phone line.
I'm reading my shut down my computer.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so she's coming in.
So I guess the question is, and we can go into detail, like if you and I meet another time, is
Yep.
the textile bins, do they count being at the schools, or they have to be like, it has to be one location where you have all of these items?
So, so with this charm, it does have to be at like the one location.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of like a drops,
Sure.
a
Sure.
one drop stop kind of thing. And then, like the same with the books, there's book bins, and the other ones get a little bit more complicated with maintaining them, that kind of thing.
Sure. Sure.
So, and so it is a little bit more complicated. And one of the things I wanted to talk about, what possibly the recycling committee could do, is if they were interested in doing a zero waste event, that would, possibly incorporate some of these items. Curbside recycling regulations. This is basically regulations for trash and recycling, like who picks it up, who is responsible for, if you want to have the recycling inspected. Also, how you want your services paid for and broken up. Again, it's a service that we can, help you with if you're interested in it. A lot of communities started looking into this, particularly a few years ago when China started cutting back on making the recycling more cleaner. Our recycling was contaminated. So a lot of communities started working with their haulers, where the hauler might be tagging the recycling as being contaminated. So that's the most common one, but some communities have it go into a little bit more, requiring that private haulers would be providing recycling as well. So again, it's more of a legislative.
Recording in progress.
So that one might be a bigger haul, but in the long run, it does help. So the diversity and equity one, this was in some ways, it kind of caught some of the communities off guard. This was a new category that we put in for communities to capture any really special programs that they do for low-income residents, or possibly residents where English is a second language. And some of these things are really pretty easy. It's basically knowing your community, and every community is different. If you know that there's a significant population within Walpole that English is not their first language, do you have a sense of something like that, Melissa?
Well, I think that's something that we can definitely do, but I've never done it. But again, like you said, some of the literature is already on the DEP website. And
Yep.
again, all the handouts that we do give out, we already have in template format. So it's just a matter of having it translated. So I think this
Exactly.
is a very attainable point to get for next year.
Definitely. And the nice thing about this one is that there's a program that we use that kind of tells us what languages are spoken in the community, so we can kind of get an idea of what direction you might want to go in.
That would be very helpful.
I'm sorry.
That would be really helpful,
Yeah.
actually.
So, and then the other thing is, so one of the programs is called Recycle Smart MA. Again, it's a free program. It's part of the Recyclopedia type program, but already just on their website, they have, I think it's like 8 to 12 languages already. And it's just basically that postcard that goes around, like not putting plastic bags in your
Yes.
recycling bin and all
Yeah.
that.
And honestly, Missy, we use that a lot. Like our staff uses it. We reference it a lot. It's in a lot of our handouts that we give out. Like even if someone calls, if it's an item that I don't know, I'll just jump on it myself. So I think that's but that's good that they have the different languages for the literature.
So Alan is asking if all the towns are on Recycle Smart MA. No, unfortunately, they're not. It is one of these things that is so insanely easy to put the widget on the website, to put it on any social media, and it's very easy to use, and it's free. And still a lot of towns just don't use it. The graphics that it comes in are phenomenal. If you play around and look on the website, it has video PSAs already. It has little flyers. It has little press releases. It really has a great media toolkit already there for you. You don't have to, I apologize for the dog, that's mine. I'm gonna pull the shade down. Sorry, it's that time of the day when everyone else walks their dog. So it's just a really great website that you can get so much information out of it. And it really helps the residents. I've often wanted to turn it into like a game show, kind of like on a cable access TV show. So the next one is the hazardous waste. It's phenomenal that you guys are part of the coalition with the other towns. I'm actually going to use you guys as a model for other communities who are interested in doing something like this.
That's awesome.
Because I mean, as everyone knows, the cost of hazardous waste has gone up. It's continued to go up. The industry is consolidating a little bit, and some of the communities were having difficulty securing contracts. So it's going to be an issue. So you guys are fantastic at that. And it was brilliant to join ahead with that program, because it really makes a good smart move. And then the other thing is the multiple languages. can also be with their hazardous waste items as well.
Definitely.
Let's see, organic. So the nice thing that you guys did with the RDP money that you had last year, you guys bought recycling bins, correct?
We bought the compost bins.
Compost bins, that's right.
Yes, so that's something we've been doing ever since we got the small scale grant. So originally we were getting about the 1,500 mark grant, but then last year I was able to apply for the large scale, and I think we were able to get about 7,700. So we still have a portion of that money left, but we've always purchased approximately 25 or so bins for the year. And they do technically, maybe not all of them, but a good majority sell. And I would say sometimes we do sell out, so I would say about 25 a year we're able to sell.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Some people do like the more fancier ones and purchase them on their own. Some people will make their own. This is definitely a basic composting bin, but a lot of people that have them say that the longevity is there. And again, it's at a discounted rate. So we charge $25 to purchase them. I think it was 56, but I think it actually went up this year to about 60. So.
That's great, because we also, what some communities don't want to charge the reduced fee, even though, I was kind of doing the math with, they simply would get an extra point for the RDP if they charge $25. They ended up making more, but it's just, again, an administrative bookkeeping thing they don't want to deal with. The other thing is we had a master composter who retired, I think, a year or two ago. The Mass DEP Boston office has a new person that just went through master composting school. So we now have somebody back on staff. It's something that I personally also do, and I've taught on it, and I have my own little red wiggler worms that go out on tour with me, and I share them with people and stuff.
That's awesome.
So it's one of my favorite things as well.
That's great.
So that's really good that they're actually, it's working out well. And then I think you have about 5,000 left from last year, unless.
Yes, which is great. So we'll continue to use it to purchase the bins, to purchase other items. Like we've done the reusable bags that we give out at the farmers markets and things like that.
Now Walpole just passed a plastic bag ban, I think.
We did. So it went into effect for the larger businesses March of this year, and then the smaller businesses will be affected come September. So that's why it was kind of nice to have the reusable bags. So then that way we can provide them at farmers market and kind of give them out as, an alternative for when people go shopping.
So I also started and run our Shrewsbury Farmers Market, and did the plastic bag ban in the town as well. So I'm very familiar with those programs and how rolling it out to the residents with that is. So if you have any questions, I can definitely answer those personally.
No, that's great. Thank you.
So let's see what else we have. So the recycling center access, and if you don't have one, that really doesn't apply. And the next one category is one that I think you can definitely work on, the reuse programs. This is something that is perfect for recycling committee. There's so many things in here that your committee could do. The first one I had mentioned was the zero waste events. I've done those with my own town as a resident, and we worked with 3 other towns who were abutting us, and we coordinated these really large zero waste events. And these were fabulous because it really brought out the residents. It really created a really big community effort. You got, your volunteers from the Scouts, from the churches, the National Honor Society, people in town who are just, like the volunteer, that kind of thing. But what you would do is mostly be reaching out to a lot of nonprofits who would take things, and not just your usual players. So sometimes you might be thinking about veterans groups, or animal shelters are another one that take really old kind of raggy towels. A lot of different groups that we don't normally think of, but they would take stuff that might end up in the trash or in other ways. So it's just another great way to redivert things.
And is it something, Missy, where we were to reach out, say the committee reached out to a handful of organizations, and then is it like you pick like a set time or date, or like it's just open to where people bring it to those locations?
So what it would be, it'd be like almost like an I don't want to say Earth Day event because that's when everybody has their event. So it's almost impossible to get an organization. But
Sure.
you would kind of pick a date. Let's say it's really too soon, but let's say you wanted to have one in the fall. You would pick a date and then you would contact the groups. And then you would have a central location in your town in Walpole. And you would set this up in, this location. Usually school parking lots are really good, somewhere where you have a nice flow of people coming in and out, where they can donate or drop off items. And
great.
the groups, the nonprofits would bring their trucks there and they would kind of set up, and people would drop stuff off. Or, one community up here also does a swap. I am not familiar with that one, but I can find out from them from Northborough how they actually do the swap as well.
Okay.
So, you can do a few things like that. You can kind of play around with it and make it your community. And it's also, it's good because that's, if you wanted to say, get the high school involved, they could, tackle a certain category or whatever as well.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea.
So the zero waste is, and as I just love it, it's just a really great community effort to build.
And where do we find out like what the definition of qualifying?
Okay, so
Yeah.
that one, I had to look it up because, and the thing is, it kind of changes sometimes. So this is according to this year, the RDP, on the website, the RDP Recycling Dividends Program was actually a 14-page document. I can resend this again. But it was basically explaining all the categories on here.
Oh, perfect.
So, and it explains like what to have in there. So suggestions would be building materials. So, if you wanted to, set a criteria for, usable building materials that people might want to share, whether it be, a sink or, leftover roofing tiles, or reusable paint, whatever you wanted to do. Recreational items and sporting goods. The kids are done all with hockey. What do you do with all that stuff? Could do something like that. It could be where you would collect it and donate it to an organization, or again, a swap type thing. Household goods and furnishings. There's a number of organizations, particularly groups that work with new Americans, new immigrants coming into the United States, particularly right now with Afghanistan. So any of the charities that deal with furniture, bikes and bike parts. I know there's a Bikes Not Bombs program, and some communities have programs where they're kind of like earn a bike type programs where they work with inner city kids, earning programs. And then the other thing is, this is also a great thing for scouts. So if you have any Eagle Scout programs that are in need of a project, some of these are fabulous. So that can.
So Alan actually on the call is the scout lead. So he actually helped us have a scout attend our hazardous waste day, which was very great.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, great. Yeah. So these are like, these are almost, I want to say, tailor made in some way for Eagle Scout or for the Girl Scout gold badge. They're fabulous. So electronics and appliances, clothing and textiles, and accessories, books and media, office and school supplies, furniture, baby care items, creative reuse, paint for reuse, really just about anything that can be reused. And just to kind of get them saved for people.
I'm sorry, Melissa, where are you reading from right now?
So
Okay,
this
so-
is, right here, the reuse program. Can you see like the cursor here? So Missy's actually reading from an additional document that she has, but it's just meeting the reuse program, the item for Zero Waste Day. So you're given 1 point if you do one qualifying zero waste per year, and then 2 points if you're doing 2 of them.
Yeah.
Okay, excuse me. So I'm sorry. I guess I'm just what are you suggesting might be a good Eagle project?
So an Eagle, so a good one. So any of these items, to basically, if there's not anything, so I live near Worcester, and in Worcester, there's a program called Worcester Earn a Bike. And basically it works with inner city kids, that they have, it's kind of like Habitat Humanity. They have to put the sweat effort in, learn about bike maintenance and, helping, and they earn hours. So they get a bike that has been refurbished and that kind of thing. And I believe in Boston, there's like a Bikes Not Bomb program. But setting up some type of program where, the scouts will collect bikes, and then give them either to inner city students, or I've heard from a number of organizations that, particularly in Africa, there's a huge need for them in third world countries, and it's not dumping. I mean, they want our bikes, kind of thing. And then working with an organization that might be able to like send them off or whatever.
Okay.
That kind of thing. And to be honest, any of these items I'm reading from are perfect like that. So like if, I'm trying to think of like working with a veterans program, any of these things that the veterans program might need, for whatever, or, like personal care items or paint, whatever, toys. One group is called Cradle to Crayons. So there are some groups that already exist. And then the other thing is the scouts themselves could kind of come up with, an idea for a project, working within your local community that I might not even know about, or really anyone might not know about. And they do research and go, oh my gosh, there's this huge need for X. I mean, one thing that comes to mind for me is, like canes and walkers, things for elderly. There's a lot of, somebody outgrows their cane or their knee scooter or whatever like that, collecting these items, maybe working with the Council on Aging, and being able to find homes for these items or whatever. So really the sky's the limit. What I was just reading from are suggestions. So really it's anything that the scouts can come up with.
Sure. And like you said, even reaching out to our Veterans Association, our COA, and reaching out to other local businesses that potentially could have a need for certain items.
Yeah. There like up where I'm from, there are different organizations that like officially collect, like even a business, or if the scouts wanted to start a nonprofit, where they would, businesses would drop off, if they have letterhead that they're not using anymore, and it could be reused, kind of like a swap shop or arts and crafts supply store or whatever. It can be done, working with inner city students who don't have school supplies. There's just so many things that you can just really, go crazy and kind of think about different things.
Sure.
So that's the Zero Waste Day. And then the other component in there is in your library. Walpole does not have it in their library, and not all libraries have this, but it's called a library of tools or library of things. Some libraries are calling it the library of unique objects. And the Massachusetts library system, I think the president, it's kind of one of their goals to try and have these in libraries. What they essentially are is, you can borrow books and videos from the library, but these are where you can actually borrow stuff. And the cool thing is there's grant money out there for that. A lot of communities are getting hotspots to have at their library. And this was done with grant money. You can get a telescope. I believe the Alden Foundation or whatever will give money for telescopes. There's like a lot of grant money out there. And these things would be at the library and they would loan them out just like they would books. They don't have to be huge. It could be, and the idea is that they're things that people wouldn't use all the time, that they might use once or twice a year, or, but instead of having people go out and buy these things and then, a year later toss them out or, whatever, that that they can just borrow these things. And every community is a little different. One of my communities has fishing poles. They're near the river and the water. And so they loan out fishing poles and binoculars and things like that, that really, tailored for what they do. So if the library gets a minimum of 30 different items in 3 different categories, and this is actually really pretty easy, working with the Friends of the Library, maybe the Rotary Club. Again, this is also another great scout project as well, that they could create this library of things. And the idea is to, what would be the biggest impact for people? One of the projects I want to do is I really would like to see more of the medical equipment kind of things for particularly elderly. My elderly in-laws come to visit and they forget their walker. I need a walker, and that, my library, oh, gee, my library has one, so that kind of thing. So really kind of expanding what your community needs. Games are a really big one. So I think one of the companies must donate them, because it looks like one company is a very popular one out there.
And
So-
I guess that's the question. So in order to obtain these items, is that something we would pay for with the RDP grant money, or is there additional grants to be?
If you want, so you can donate some RDP money with this. But there's also library grant money for this within the MLS system. And then there's also small private foundation grant money as well. One of my communities on their website actually put where they got each item from. So I grabbed all that grant information from them.
So that would be great. So would you be able to possibly share that with me?
Yeah, I'll definitely.
Give us a starting point for this program.
And you get a point for, and it's just a really wonderful program that, it's bringing equity to everyone.
Sure.
And it's like cooking items, like say, an Instapot kind of thing, somebody tries it out beforehand, or convection, stovetop cooker, things that people might want to try out before they buy, or something like canning equipment that they'd only do once a year.
I'm pretty sure Norwood has this program.
A lot of the communities do. Some of them, you look at it and it reminds me of the Christmas wish catalog when I was a little kid. They're just like mind-boggling. And then others are really basic, but it's just a really great thing. And what I really, like I said, I love that some of them are really tailored for their community. The fishing pole one was kind of cool with the binoculars, and it came with a little guidebook, on birds and stuff. So, it's like whatever, you feel that your residents would be interested in.
That's cool. I like that.
Let's see. So, and then another one that, again, it's not, again, another community type event is the Fix-It clinics. There's actually an organization, or there's actually 2 organizations called the Repair Clinic, and I think the other one's called Fix-It. I'll have to send you the links. They have strange names, but they're international organizations, and they're based on mainly out of Europe. And the idea is that instead of people throwing things away, we teach them how to, they get fixed. And some of them can be something really simple, but maybe somebody's elderly, or they're not able to, physically manipulate it, or they might not have the tools. So you would kind of get your, quote unquote experts in your community, or somebody who's really handy, and, they would fix things. It could be fixing a zipper. It could be, fixing a lamp, or, whatever you want to do. But these organizations actually have templates to how to set this up, how to run it with promotions, and, really they give you guidelines on how to set these programs. And they're great because people learn to repair things rather than throw them out, which is kind of an old fashioned thing. But, with the whole
That's good.
supply chain
Reduce
issue,
waste. Yes.
in the pandemic, we've heard enough of it. So we might need to start thinking about fixing these again.
Sure.
So those are, a lot of those are just really like community type events.
Which I think
But
that's a
great
great
recycling
thing.
it. So the solid waste reduction really has to do with the pay as you throw program, which is a big haul. And the textile recovery initiative, you got the point for that. But again, this this one and the outreach, the general education and outreach are phenomenal tools for recycling committee. I mean, you guys did, what you were required, but there's one particular community that I think this person must be a retired executive in advertising, because they're just over top. They have, a calendar of when certain things are going to go out on social media. They use like 3 or 4 different platforms for social media. Like this month, July is, plastic-free July month. And getting residents to kind of think about like that kind of stuff. And they put that on social media. They would have town newsletter, and then really working with all the different ways with the community, not just, sending it out from the town, but, maybe putting
Sure.
it in local newspaper or things that as
So
well.
we do, so Nancy on our committee who's on the call today, she spearheads our Facebook page and does a really good job with like, especially with the Bay State, like textiles, like reminders constantly. We have a lot of community events, so like electronic take back programs that are just kind of sprinkled throughout the year. And as soon as we get a flyer, Nancy will put it up on the website. And then also we do work closely with our school. So they have like it's called like a electronic backpack newsletter. So anytime if we have things, we'll ask them to put it in their newsletter, as well as the Council on Aging, because they do their monthly newsletter. So we try to get it out that way as
Oh,
well.
fantastic. Yeah. So that, so that's, it, because some of that stuff, it kind of can start building on itself. And then also, do you use your cable access TV?
We have not very recently, but we have done a few little interviews on there and some kind of like PSA if we've had new programming and things. But I think that's something we could probably utilize better, and even maybe having some of the recycling committee members even maybe like do like, I don't know, either a monthly PSA, or I don't know if weekly is a little bit too much to start off with, but something like that.
Well, that's one of the other things is with the Recycle Smart MA, and then another organization I'm going to mention now that we're talking about textiles is it's called SMART. It's Secondary Materials and Recycled Textiles. I'll send you the link to that one as well. But again, it's another organization where they have these phenomenal media program, and you can just grab things off of there and share them with them. And so that way you don't have to keep, reinventing the wheel every month. It's already existing. And you can just, save your time, maybe every other month you guys could do something, specific for Walpole or what you have going on in town.
That's
That way you don't
great.
burn out. And then this the same for the outreach. It's just, again, just, kind of being able to, a press release. Press releases are actually pretty simple, but again, it's like, having the manpower to do it. Just kind of saying, hey, we're accepting Christmas trees, or, whatever particular thing that you have going on in the town regarding recycling. Like I said, if you wanted to highlight, this is plastic free July month or whatever, getting people to kind of think about, recycling and maybe reducing their single use items. And especially, with your bag ban coming up for the smaller communities, the smaller businesses, this is also another way, using your PSAs, or your press releases that way as well. And then, again, some of these are just the same thing, a public service announcement, press release, the guide or the manual. That is another project that is really good for a recycling committee. I will also say that it is a lot of work. But once you have it organized and set up, it's just mainly kind of like, checking it out, a couple of times a year to see if anything has changed within waistbands or anything like that. And then also with the waistbands coming up, a lot of this education and outreach is really going to be important as well. So utilizing the recycling committee for that as well.
That's great. And I mean, we do our annual mailer, which has a lot of information in it. So it might even maybe with a little bit more work could meet the guidelines for that guide or manual.
Yeah. So the guides, some communities, have these they work with the local newspaper, and they have these, very fancy printed multicolor kind of thing with ads and all that stuff. I have done them, and they are a ton of work. But I've also seen other communities where it's just literally the recycling committee puts together, this nice little 12-page little booklet kind of thing. It's online, and I imagine they have it printed as well. And it just really is very specific for their community, different charities people can donate things to, why you're doing it, local groups, international groups. So again, it's just another nice way to get information out to people.
I think that's a great idea and a good project for the committee, definitely.
So, and then there's just the whole bunch, more of different things that you do, but it sounds like you guys do a lot of outreach already. And then the yard waste, you do that twice a year already, so that's fantastic. And that's adding up of your points. So I was trying to look, think the way the category is broken up is that you apply, or excuse me, you're getting claiming 7 points, and the category is if you get 10 points, the amount per point goes up significantly. So that's why I was harassing and badgering everybody that I really wanted everyone to, to be able to get to that 10 points.
Sure.
And I think with some of the, the things that we were talking about, you might be able to really get to the 10 points next year, because the difference is almost double of what.
Yeah, I definitely, I mean, I printed this out as well, so I'm highlighting as we're going through it, but I definitely think we have at least 3 more points that we can obtain for next year. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
We definitely have our work cut out for us, but I think it's something that we can definitely achieve.
Yeah. And then while we're talking about the money part is that the things that you can spend the money on is really huge. I mean, I was looking at it again and I had forgotten about it. I mean, the money can even be used to purchase a water bottle refilling station for schools.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's like really quite really, if you think about it, just about anything on there, not just education, but also just stuff as well. Like you said, the bags that you're buying, reusable bags, are great as well.
Sure. That's great.
Rain barrels or something.
We do. So we do have the rain barrel program. So we get a discounted rate through it. We don't pay for the rain barrels for residents, but it's something that maybe we can think of though, if we do have the extra funds.
Yeah. And then the other thing is that, so in the DEI category, one of the suggestions were reduced fees for those of lower income. Some communities are using it very similar to how like maybe the Council on Aging might use some of their programs to differentiate, what services that the residents could get. That would also qualify for that. So it's not just a discount for being elderly, but it would be for like more tied to income.
Sure. That's great. Well, thank you. We really appreciate you joining our call today. And I think it's helpful for the committee to kind of see where we're at, that we do obviously, this is a grant that we apply for annually, and that it has been growth along the years, but that potentially we have a lot of room for more growth. So I think that that's helpful. And I think it's good to provide the committee with maybe some items that are, attainable in the near future, and then maybe some to work for in years to come. So I don't know, I can open it up for anyone on the committee if they have any questions for Missy before. We're just being mindful of time. It's about 6:15 and normally we have an hour-long call. So we have about 15 minutes left.
Sorry. I was just so excited about the program. I really think, I'm really excited. I'm trying to get more communities to actually start having recycling committees, because I really think that it's a lot of coming down to education and outreach, and the departments, whether it's the, Board of Health or the DPW, they just don't have the time or the manpower to do some of these things, particularly like the outreach with the community. And I hate to say it, a lot of times it's telling them more than once, like, oh, no, you can't put that in there, and that kind of thing. So it's a really good. So thank you guys for doing this. I know it can be hard. I've done this in my own town, and I've stood out there in a recycling cape with Velcroed items that can be recycled on me. And Yeah, and I've gone through a plastic bag ban and all that stuff. So I do know what you're going through. But
What's a
Alan.
recycling cape? I need a recycling cape.
Okay.
I had a friend who makes it. I have to talk to her again on that. But it was pretty cool. My kids were horrendously embarrassed, so that means it was successful. So,
Right.
Absolutely.
but actually, it was good. I'll be honest, is because if you have an idiot out there standing, with a, you could just buy a baseball cap and put something, Velcro stuff on there, but it makes you much more approachable than that person standing behind the table with flyers. They're like, oh, there's this idiot wearing trash on their head, kind of thing, and it
She
just
doesn't even know me and she's calling me an idiot.
So it just brings that level down, and like people like I've always wanted to ask this, and it just really makes it it makes it fun, and people aren't as intimidated. So it has that.
I have a question about the event you were talking about with repurposing items. Is that almost like a swap? Like people bring stuff and take stuff?
The fix-it clinics, the repair clinics.
Well, was it a fix-it clinic? I thought
Might
it
be
was
the
kind of
zero waste
There were
one.
a couple of things.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
a
yeah.
zero waste thing. So the zero waste thing, so you can do it any way you want. The idea is that the stuff doesn't go in the trash. So the way my community did it is that we worked with, let's say at one point we worked with, we had Salvation Army at one point. There's another organization up here. It's called the Great Exchange, and they collect business stuff. So they have the weirdest widgets and, what businesses might get, inserts between their tubes or whatever. Instead of throwing it away, they would donate there. Or if somebody was changing offices and they'd have, 3 full floors of stuff, they would donate them to them. And then arts and crafts supplies. So if you have any Make It clinics down there working with the schools, it's just really kind of finding those nonprofits who would take this stuff rather than having it going into the trash.
right, but for the event itself, I mean, you set this stuff up somewhere. Where are you getting the stuff?
So your residents are bringing this stuff. So you would tell your residents like, hey, we're going to be collecting used CD discs, and it's going to go to, XYZ company. We're going to be accepting takeout containers and Rubbermaid and Tupperware, because that's not recyclable. We're going to be taking that, and that's going to be under, the Elm Street, group or whatever like that. So you provide them with a list of what is being accepted and, what groups are doing it. And then the way we would do it is, having a large parking lot, and, Salvation Army would be in one corner of the parking lot and XYZ group would be in another. And then people would just drive through and drop the stuff off. So.
I have a quick question.
Thank you.
Sorry, I came in late. It was unavoidable. It's just too early. Do you get any points around composting as recycling trash?
So you get points for selling the composting bins at $25.
Okay.
But for actually composting, no, we don't give credit for that.
We do get credit too for having the compost site, Donna. So we get
Okay.
credit for the compost site, and then we get credit for selling the
Yeah.
compost.
Oh yeah. So yeah, in your case, because sorry, you're different language. So we call that lawn and collection curbside pickup. So yes, you do get points for doing that. So yes, in what your Walpole program, you do get the 2 points for that, because that is definitely a huge tonnage issue.
So if Walpole sponsored curbside pickup of garbage, would that count as anything?
Compost.
Compost,
I'm sorry. Oh, so for
food
compost,
scraps.
food scraps. Okay, that's what I wanted to clarify.
Sorry.
Yeah, so that
Thank
is
you, Ellen.
another category that is down there. And some communities are doing that. They're looking at various vendors. So let me back up. So the organics ban started last year, And that really only applies to large waste facilities. So restaurants, hospitals, large schools. And it was 1 ton a week, and now it is down to half a ton a week. So what is happening now is the companies who collect that organic, the food waste, are now seeing that they're going to be in the community. So they're reaching out to household residents as well. While we're there, we may as well pick up this. So, so they are talking to communities about that. There's a whole bunch of different players out there and what they do. Some give you the compost back, and it's so various things. But yeah, that is one of the programs as well. And it's not cheap, but yeah. So having the town sponsor that would be one as well. So I think the price of that one was.
Alan, do you have something else?
Yeah, so I think that the library of things is a great idea, and I don't know that the library has the capacity to take the things, but I think that would be something that really would be a valuable thing to look into, maybe as a committee, because I've heard a lot of different towns have great feedback, lots of positive things coming out of that type of swap. To Nancy's point, where do we get those items? Maybe there could be one central location and we don't have a one-off thing. We just have a place where you go and get school supplies or office supplies and, lawn rakes or hose or wheelbarrow or, I don't know, snowshoes. I wanted to come up with a snowshoe bucket or snowshoe and cross-country ski thing for Adams Farm. Could we have some items like that we could, if there was a place that we could put all those things and have it manned for, some number of hours a week? I think that would be a very valuable tool.
Yes, it could be. So most communities have the library do it because of the organization and getting the stuff back and keeping track of who has it and where it's going. They're already set up for that. So I have a feeling maybe out in Western Mass, some of the municipalities might do that, but it really becomes a much more harder record keeping and more work for you guys. So, kind of helping the library, like maybe with storage containers, like if they wanted to have things like that, with that type of thing, or, so let's say your library has the basic, library of things, and it doesn't have to be big stuff. I mean, a Wi-Fi hotspot is, like this big. But, let's say if you wanted to have special things during winter, they don't need to store, 10 pair of snowshoes in July at your library. So maybe, someone else could store that when it's not seasonal kind of thing. You could help them out with that.
Would you be able to, Missy, provide us maybe like neighboring communities that have this program?
Oh, yeah. So one of my,
maybe some of the recycling committee members can go visit and kind of maybe pick the brains of those in charge, see like where they're storing it and how they kind of operate it.
So
And I think
it's funny, like some of them are just in like little teeny tiny, like, Tupperware containers. There's some, some of the things are small, but, but yeah, so that's one of the things why I think it's usually the library. It's just the organization keeping track of it.
that makes a lot of sense. So Melissa, I think we need to get in touch with somebody from the library if we want to try and do this.
Sure. And I think it'd be helpful if we had what other towns do. So then when we go to see, like, so Sal is the library director, to say like, this is what takes place here. And again, not to overwhelm the library with this daunting task, but this is how it's operated. It runs very well, and giving some feedback on that side.
And chances are your library might already be familiar with it. Because like I said, it's a program that's also sponsored through the Mass Library Systems program as well. And that's one of their special things this year.
Sure.
So really kind of snowballing.
That's good. So on my end, I'll reach out to the library director just to kind of get a feel to see maybe this was something that was tried in the past and possibly didn't work out. But I think if we can get the list of communities, then maybe we can start working on that as well.
And then this is something that your RDP money can be used to set up. I mean, I'm a big person about, really involving the community, but I mean, if you wanted to give some seed money to the library,
Sure.
do that, particularly like I would suspect like maybe organization type and storage containers. But if you have any civics groups in town, hey, would you donate $250 so that we can have, electronics, or we could have, e-readers or whatever for that, for people who want to try them out before they buy them, green screens, whatever. And then, kind of, other groups kind of go, oh, hey, we want to do this too. So to really bring in everyone in the community at that.
That's awesome. I really appreciate you coming today, Melissa. And what I'll do with the committee, like once you send over the information, I'll pass it along to the group at large, because I know there's a few members that weren't able to jump on the call. And then we can try to get maybe like a list of items that we can tackle in the fall. We won't meet over the summer months, but it doesn't mean that we can't correspond via email and try to maybe tackle or prioritize what we'd want to tackle first. Because obviously this RDP is due this time next year, well, June of next year. So we do have time, but obviously some programs take a little while to get off the ground, and some of them require it to take place like twice a year. So we just want to be mindful of that. And again, no pressure, because if we can't have it this year, then maybe we start working towards it and then we accomplish it for the following year. But at least it gets the ball rolling to get more points.
So I will send you neighboring communities with their lists of the library things. Also the grant information that I was able to pull off of the list. And then also my, now that the grant season's over, I get to kind of work on my own little pet projects. And one of my pet projects is the library of things. I really want to see every community in Massachusetts. I want their libraries to have one of these things, because it really is, it's good for everybody, so, and they don't have to be as fancy as some of the other wealthy towns, but just some of the things are really kind of cool.
Sure. And then you can always build on it as you become established. Sure.
Exactly. And the other thing is, it doesn't have to be brand new stuff. That's the other thing. Everything like, oh, we have to buy this, was like, not really. I mean, if somebody had, great, now I have, 3 Instapots, how many do I need, and I don't want to, give it away because my mother-in-law gave it to me, but she'll be okay with me donating it. So, I can't be the only one like that. So there'll be other things as well. So you could have a wish list, within your community or whatever as well. So.
Can we have, what you're saying comes to mind very quickly is our library has a place for seeds. People can
Yes.
bring seeds. We have that. Also, we have a young man at Farmers Market that's quite notorious for his collecting of cans and bottles to give to charity, the proceeds. And then we also have an amazing furniture and household goods recycling center here. The question is, we have to be able to tie these in to the recycling committee, to gain the points. So that's a bit of a challenge. They're operating independently, and I'm not sure how this could, any of it fit together, but I don't know. It just came to mind what was going on.
No, I think that's true. But I think we do have items that we can work on internally, little by little, like the education, translation of education that we already have. That would meet a criteria point, and then the lending library, and then thinking about doing those zero waste events. So yeah, we have work cut out for us, but I think it's good because it gives the committee a direction of what we can start working towards.
I have a question you just made me think of. I'm sorry to keep you, Missy. At the farmer's market, if we printed out the information from Recycle Smart Mass page in the different languages and had that available at the farmer's market, do we get a point for that?
Yeah. So that is,
And we'll be doing that.
Yeah, see I think that's the easiest one to accomplish, because
Starting
of all the
Saturday.
outreach we have. Yeah, that's
So-
the easiest one.
Yeah.
Nancy, I can help you with that, and we can make copies here in the office.
Yeah. So, and then the other thing is, because like I said, my farmer's market's tomorrow. That's what I'll be doing. I'll work here in the morning and then, do my farmer's market in the afternoon. But the other thing is, getting the sandwich A-frame boards. And Melissa, I don't know if you guys have the Recycle Smart IQ kit, maybe not.
No.
I'll send you, we already have graphics that we had made from a professional company a few years ago. You can grab these graphics yourself. And then we also have a printing company that, has kind of specialized in this. So you can have these big, A-frame kind of things printed out, and it'll say, don't, don't bag your recyclables and put them in, and, don't put in tanglers, like little reminders like that. And that also counts. So the farmers markets are great. And I really keep trying to tell this to, a lot of communities, but they think of them separately. It's just a great resource to really get a lot of information out there to people.
It is. You have a captive audience, Nancy. You'll say, how
We
many
talked
people
to- Yeah,
through
we
the
talked to a lot of
11
people.
weeks, right? 11 weeks. So each, 9 to 1.
Yeah, and last year we had the, because we had the plastic bag ban coming, we had the A-frame and it had information about the bag ban on both sides of it. So that was, and we had that up every week, so.
And like what I like to do is like keep things seasonal, because that's when people are thinking about it. So right now, a lot of people are probably drinking, like iced coffee and iced drinks, reminding people that straws are not recyclable. They need, tell people that, when you have your little Dunkin' Donuts drink, the lid and the straw has to go in the trash. You dump your liquid out, and the other thing can go in the recycling bin. So like keeping it timely also helps too. So.
Did we get a point for social media? Like if we went through other people's recycling and said, this is not recyclable? Like stupid little videos. Like I think you said, Missy, that you do
You
that.
would get an award for doing that, like a big. So actually,
I'm ready to start doing that. I think is nosing through the neighbors
actually,
recycling and
enforced.
taking a stupid selfie. Is this recyclable? No.
I would love to do that. Yeah. And that's the way people are going to learn, unfortunately. But
I need my recycling cape first, I think.
yes, okay, I'll work on that. I'll get maybe a hard hat if you're actually going to do that method. We'll get some Kevlar cape there.
I'll find a hard hat and super glue some things to it.
Okay. I use
Put it
Velcro
on.
so I could change them out. If I had like, items of the day or the week that I was going to hire.
I love it.
But I would be more than happy to, meet with you guys again, and, especially.
Yeah,
if
no,
you-
I think honestly, we might take you up on that. Like I said, we won't meet over the summer, but even maybe if we have you back in the fall to like regroup a little bit more and maybe get the wheels rolling, and pick off on what we kind of worked on throughout the summer. That would be
Great. And I'll hope to have some more lists, from charities in the area for zero waste events, because a couple of other communities were interested in that as well. So when I can kind of get, some lists of who, takes things and interest in that kind of thing, I can share that with everybody.
Good. Perfect. All right.
Great.
Well, thank
Thank
you so much for Missy
Thank
for being
you.
a part of our meeting. We'll definitely look forward to working with you, and welcome aboard. We're excited to have you.
Thank
I
you.
know we talked about not meeting in July and August. However, like I will correspond via email. And then I know we mentioned in September, possibly meeting in person. So if that's something we can kind of maybe regroup as we get closer to September, if people are in favor of that, we can go that route. We might even be able to do a hybrid model depending on what room we have in town hall. So that could be an option as well. Sound good?
Love
Melissa,
it.
Yes.
this is important because I didn't know that. Are we saying that the bottom cups from Dunkin' Donuts and McDonald's, when rinsed out, are recyclable? Only the lids and straws are not?
Iced.
I didn't
You have
know
to
that.
recycle Smart MA. It depends on what it is. If they're the ones that are the coated ones, then no. If it's the plastic, I was under the impression if it was clear plastic, it was allowed to be recycled.
Wow, because you just see so
Yeah.
many of those, and I didn't know that. Thank you for
Yeah.
that. And what about clear versus opaque milk jugs? That's another big question. We looked it up on Whatsy, and it wasn't.
Recycle Smart MA.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
If
Just
it's
throw them
coated,
out.
it's not.
What, if it's coated?
It's not recyclable, it's coated.
Right. Hmm.
But I would
What do you
assume,
mean?
I would assume milk jugs would be, not like milk
Jug.
cartons, but a
Right.
milk
The
jug.
cold milk plastic things. Yeah.
Yeah, plastic milk jug, I would say would be recyclable. But yeah, you can. So you can put that in a recycling bin. It's a carton, but you can't because the carton
Right.
coating.
Ah,
As we might not be meeting until the end of, or till September.
Yeah.
I don't want to throw this out there, but one of the things is a zero waste swap thing. Did we want to think about maybe backpacks? running an August backpack swap.
Yeah.
Anybody who's got old backpacks could bring them someplace. And then on a certain day, you can have everybody come and try and pick out a new backpack.
Yeah, and I think the
Um,
main thing is we just really need to find vendors that could potentially take them. The zero waste days, typically you have a vendor there. So then that way, if there is a leftover amount of these items, someone would be taking them off site. So I think that's something we need to brainstorm. Like if you have bicycles coming, then people do have the option to take something, but say there's a lot left over and people are just dropping, but no one's taking them. We need to have someone on site ready to take everything away. That would just be food for thought.
Okay, well, like with backpacks, I would think we could bring those to the inner city and, you know, if they're in a decent shape.
That's the thing though, I would just be worried about people bringing really, really poorly, you know,
There's a
and then
dumpster right down the street.
stuck with it, yeah.
If
So-
you
One of the
look on those buy nothing sites, everyone's always like, I have this. Well, this is wrong with it, but you can still
Yeah.
have it. And that's what I would be afraid of. Everybody. would
I
be
know,
like,
it just, and being stuck with it.
It's all
So
right.
I think we could definitely brainstorm more over the summer, even just if people are looking online and finding different ways to dispose of things, just share it with the group, you know, and then we can kind of go from there.
Coming back to Allen's snowshoes for a seasonal one. I was in Needham for many decades and we had a ski swap every year for decades that was very successful. Of course, that's all we had was skis in those days. Now we have other, but it was just, I think it was at the church or the Masonic Hall, bam, a one-day event. You brought your stuff. Now where it went when it wasn't claimed, I'm not sure. But
Yeah, I think they're all great ideas. I think just maybe starting off small and maybe smaller items just for storage purposes. But then again, maybe expanding it and working with our community partners at the churches. I think that's a great idea. And then again, publicizing it and making it known to the, you know, to the residents that these are options. But
Yeah.
starting small, obviously, that could be attainable. Good. All right, perfect.
Is the new
Wow.
flyer, printed? I'm just seeing
The
that.
new flyers printed, so come
Okay,
down
good.
whenever. We have a stack of
Okay.
them in our office. They were mailed out last week, so residents should be getting them early this week. But Nancy, yeah, come down whenever. We're in today, tomorrow, Friday, half day if you want some for the farmer's market.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, all right, perfect. So I'll follow up with an email with everything Missy has sent, and then we'll touch base via email over the summer, and then we'll plan to meet in person in September.
Great, thank you so
All right,
much.
thank you all.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Have a good
thank
night.
you.
Have a great
Bye.
summer, guys. Talk to you soon.
Bye, Alan. Out of here.